Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Game Junk Podcast, episode 167, recording on Sunday, October 1st, 2023. My name is Frank.
My name is Sean.
And my name is Andrew.
And we're going to be talking about the Meta Connect 2023, only available for viewing on Facebook. And not a whole lot to say, but we'll give our thoughts on that. And then we'll talk about what we played. Specifically, Sean and I will get into Cocoon, which so far is amazing. It will be on the Game of the Year list, guaranteed. But first, before we get to that, Meta Connect, which was just a thrilling presentation.
Yeah.
I do not understand Mark Zuckerberg's desire to be like Steve Jobs. He is not Steve Jobs. He does not have the confidence, the charisma, and the ability to pull off these entire showcase events. But we got it. We did a half an hour of that, and really the takeaways. The highlight was the Meta Quest 3 and showcasing some of the technology that's going to be a part of that system. And I would say generally leaning towards augmented reality, probably in response to Apple's VR, and really leaning into AI, which like everything was AI. You're going to have your glasses are going to have AI. You're going to play games with AI. You're going to do everything with AI. And I don't know. The whole show just seemed like we've been here before. All of these technologies have existed before in some form. Maybe AI, there's some potential for that. But to me, it's very limited potential, which we'll get into specifics. So I was far from impressed. What did you guys think of the showcase? And what did you think were the big takeaways or interesting ideas present?
I wasn't too impressed. I mean, the fact that it's kind of hidden away on Facebook and they didn't even release the full keynote almost seems like an indication that they don't have confidence behind this whole thing. This isn't like an earth-shattering showcase for them. And, you know, the Meta Quest 3 could be a big deal, but it is weird that, you know, I don't remember hearing anything about the AR side of things previously, so it feels like they have pivoted a bit after the Apple Vision Pro was announced. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird, like the metaverse and like this vision of the future. Like I like just kind of seeing what they're up to because I'm curious, but most of it seems so goofy, and it really just feels like they're kind of dipping their toes in a bunch of different technologies, waiting to see like, are one of these going to hit? If they are, we got you covered. But like, it's hard to say if any of this will catch on.
Like my first observation is when someone talks about AI, I assume we're at a point with AI that once we've breached this generative AI barrier, anyone is going to be able to do it. It's just going to be expected. It's not something you should be showcasing, except unless it's like a really specific example, which I will admit there's a couple that I thought were pretty good. But other than that, it's just proving that you can do it, which everyone is going to be able to do. It's one of those technologies that once it's out there, it will be everywhere. So I think AI should never be like, maybe that's why they were so low key with it, because everyone is going to have this in some form or another. And I don't think it's that big of a deal unless you have the next level, which I truly don't think that they do. Huck, any thoughts from you?
Just on the AI front, the personality AI, I found kind of strange. Like, why wouldn't you just want an AI that knows everything? Why do you have to like select a specific AI? Can't I just say to my generic AI, I want a recipe or be my dungeon master? Like with the persona of some guy. It seemed weird that you were like scrolling through the different ones to pick one in particular. To me,
I assume that's about mostly that with I don't know much about generative AI, but it's just using modeling and prediction. So it's limiting the pool that it pulls from. So it's not accidentally pulling from other resources that are similar or use similar words and giving incorrect information when it's dealing with that type of stuff. So it's limiting or curating a pool that it's generating responses from. That's the only reason I think that really exists. And I guess for them to attach celebrity to it, although Zuck was pretty clear that this is very early. We're going to do it. We're going to do an audible and do a tech demo. Yeah. I don't think this was an audible at all. Wow. Your big audible is go forth and like, come on. Like, have you watched a good Apple tech demo before? That was the most I can't even read what's on screen. It's dead air. What the fuck was that? That is the worst thing I've ever seen in a live demonstration.
It was absolutely brutal. But like, so just for people who didn't watch, they came up with this idea of different AI personalities, and they actually have certain celebrities that they've paid, I guess, to be sort of the face and the voice of these different AIs. So like, I'm trying to find a list here, like
Tom Brady, Dwayne Wade.
Yeah. So Tom Brady's like
Paul's the sports expert. Okay.
Yeah. Paris Hilton is a detective. I don't know. Mr. Beast is like the guy who
funny guy.
Jokes. He's the funny guy you can get jokes from.
Funniest guy on planet Earth is Mr. Beast.
I don't know. But so then they had Snoop Dogg is the dungeon master. So he's like, I guess can, DM for you or can kind of play these interactive fiction games with you. And he thought, let's just riff on stage with this Snoop Dogg thing. And I did not understand why it was just text. He would like Snoop Dogg wasn't even reading the text. How does that make sense?
So he said voice isn't there yet. It's just text or expressions. Snoop would react to what was going on. And this is not ready to show. It's just text. It could be anything. It's showing a picture of Snoop while some AI is spinning out different. The only appeal of having Snoop as a dungeon master is that it's Snoop talking in his style. Even the words written like Snoop. That would have been funny. I would have accepted that. Like, anyway, that was brutal. That's the end of the show. Like, who cares? There were maybe three ideas. And these are like just the tiniest things I was able to extract. One relating to AR. And I've never been convinced, all the way going back to the 3DS where you would shoot stuff in 3D space and use your camera, lots of AR games. There's nothing great about them, and they truly don't change or use the environment you're in an interesting way. The only part I saw potential in was they talked about mapping the room with the new cameras and the idea of throwing something at a wall and it bouncing back to you based on the actual location of that wall. So like that is a glimmer of an idea that, you could push potentially in a game. I think it's pretty limited, but the idea of like, oh, there's a portal to what's the stupid place in Stranger Things?
The upside down.
The upside down. I don't see what's all that great about that with like any different than just seeing a game world in VR. Why do I care that the upside down is in my living room? I can't suspend disbelief while I'm playing a game. AR is nonsense. It's not. It has, I think, practical applications for. I like the idea of putting a TV on a wall. That's cool. I really like the idea of like having, if you're wearing the glasses, like a pod on your counter that's always like Instagram or something like that. Like those kind of seem like somewhat useful ideas, but they're all anchored to the fact that you have this helmet on your head all the time. Who wants to walk around their house with that on all the time? Like, get real.
And with the AR thing, like the only things I was interested are the things like you're talking about with like putting a big screen in your living room, but then why not go pure VR and have a much bigger room with a much bigger screen that is not tied to the physical environment?
Yeah.
So like, I don't even get that. Like, I remember when I first got the Quest 2, I would get that theater,
big screen or something.
and it's like you're sitting in a movie theater. It feels cool. Like, why would I want to limit myself to like a whatever can fit on my wall? And yeah, like you're saying, if you're gonna have this thing on your face, why not go even bigger? They did talk about watching like sporting events, and I think they mentioned music concerts. I don't know if it was live or like recorded episodes, but
the Red Rocks thing, like a Red Rocks concert live, I've always wanted to go to Red Rocks. And I'm like, okay, that's something I would actually want to do. And
when VR first started coming out, that was what I thought would be a really great use of it. Like, imagine people in like rural Canada that like live in, no man's land. They want to go to a concert. It's like a 2-day affair just to go to a concert somewhere. And this is probably a pretty good alternative for, getting a feel of a crowd and stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think the sports could have potential too. Well, watching a game courtside, it sounds like that they already have done this. I've never tried it. That is something I should legitimately try in VR, because I think that would be a unique experience.
Yeah, I think they did have a few games last year, maybe NBA games. I remember hearing about it, and I am curious to try it. But yeah, I mean the scanning your room and your furniture and all that stuff that exists now on Meta Quest 2, at least.
I don't think it's as detailed though.
Yeah, I think this is going to be like an improvement on that. But
do you mean Meta Quest or PSVR 2? PSVR 2 does like the full mapping scan. I thought with Quest 2 you were just kind of defining boundaries.
Quest 2 introduced it because they had a free I Expect You to Die AR game, which I tried a little bit of, and it was kind of that idea. But yeah, I agree. Mostly AR stuff seems, in terms of gaming, I don't get it. Like, I'd rather just immerse myself in another world. I don't want to be in my living room. The one thing they showed was the idea of like you could play with your friends and like maybe have like a game on your coffee table, and then it's like you're sitting on your couch and it looks like your friend is sitting beside you, even though they're like in their house.
But they'd still be an avatar at this point. Like,
yeah, I just,
and you could do that
good in
like
theory.
Demio does that. You just don't see, you see their hands, you see a representation of them. That doesn't need to be augmented reality.
Yeah. So yeah, I agree that the AR thing I'm not sold on, but it seems like both them and Apple are kind of maybe not banking on it, but they're feeling like that's maybe the next big thing. And yeah, there's practical applications, definitely. Maybe that's where it will catch on, but gaming wise, I don't really see it.
The only other idea I loved that is like a complete throwaway, unless you're sticking on AR, Huck.
No, I was going to go to gaming.
Okay, I'll just talk about one AI thing. So everything was like AI companions for this, AI when you're playing pickleball with these glasses on. The only one that sounded actually cool and completely useless in the grand scheme of life is randomly generating AI stickers. So you could make like specific funny jokes as emojis. When you're texting, like come up with something on the fly that's completely contextual to a conversation you're having, and would enable humor in some way. I think that's a great application of AI. That's literally probably the best application of AI I've ever heard. An opportunity for comedy.
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit I haven't dabbled too much in like AI art, but that was one thing where I was trying to get an image for Patreon once. And I probably spent like an hour just cycling through different things because it just kept coming up with weird, funny shit. So like if you could dump that directly into a chat with some friends, it could be fun for sure.
And even the future of that, where you can seed the AI with maybe pictures of your friends or they'll have a link to their avatar or Memoji or whatever it is, whatever platform it is, and you can make custom stuff with that on the fly. I think that could be really funny. But I mean, it's not that big of a deal. And if Meta can do it, everyone can do it. So just by letting the genie out of the bottle that we have this, they better hope that that pulls people to their platforms for that limited window they have of that idea. And they stay there, because there will be, like, I would assume, better competitive versions of that in the very near future.
Yeah, I was going to say that, going back to the gaming aspect, they did announce that xCloud is going to be on the headset, which makes sense. I mean, but you're just going to play it like you have a TV in front of your screen. It's not like there's some sort of weird AR or VR magic that's going to happen.
But it's still a replacement for, you would need some console or some, what's the like cheapest version you can run Xbox Cloud on currently? Like, there's no built-in app for televisions, right? I don't think it runs.
I think they might have a few TVs. I know they were rolling some of that out, but I don't know. I guess it would be like an Android phone or something. Maybe would be your cheapest entry point.
I don't think, like, there's not an Apple TV app. Does any like box, like a Roku or something like that, have xCloud on it?
I don't know. I did play it on, I think, on my like really old iPod Touch.
But you have to play it through a browser though, right? Like, it does work on those, but
but it works, and you can connect a Bluetooth controller and everything. So it's, it's basically the same.
Okay.
I mean, it's not basically the same. It's a smaller screen, obviously, and everything. But I mean, if you wanted to go for the very cheapest option, that would be like a $250 option versus, 600, 700, 800.
I think this, like, that could be a good alternative to someone who lives in a small apartment or their own room, and like, rather than buying a TV and something else, like, okay, I'll just get this. But I think it'd be pretty tiring wearing it all the time. And
the battery life, like, what if you want to game hard? You're not gaming that hard, bud.
Yeah, well, you just have it plugged in the whole time it's on your head. You just be sitting.
I guess so. I guess so.
Yeah, I mean, that's the ironic thing, is they did make a point that the Quest 3 doesn't have any battery packs. You're not tied down. Like, kind of taking a shot at the Vision Pro, but you still, I don't know how long the battery life is, but you're going to plug it in while you're playing if you're going for a longer session. But so just on that topic of, the headset being big and bulky, like, obviously the Quest 3 is smaller than the Quest 2, more comfortable, all that stuff. But it's still not something that the average person is just going to be wearing around their house all the time. But they did announce a new pair of glasses, Ray-Ban smart glasses.
Now, it sounded like these were an upgrade, that a version of this already existed, which I was not aware of, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I didn't know either. So I don't know how widely available they were. But I was kind of curious what that looked like and what it is. It sounds like it doesn't sound like it's doing any AR stuff or VR stuff for that matter. Like, it seems like it's just, you can take pictures, video. Like, I didn't really understand what it actually is capable of, but it seemed like, you could see down the road, maybe that's what this would turn into. And then people might be more comfortable wearing it around a lot more.
The video of the F1 racer kind of doing a live stream with them, and it seemed seamless when they switched to their front-facing camera in their phone, and they were doing like an interactive kind of live stream. Could be interesting for content creators or streamers and stuff like that. But I mean, they're listed at $300 US. So it's kind of a luxury item. I could see them selling out a run of that to a very specific audience, but I don't think it'll ever go mainstream.
I mean, they do look nicer than I think the Google Glasses did, which those never really were released to the public, were they? Like, I know they were testing them for years, and people had journalists and stuff had them, but I don't think they ever released them.
Yeah, they had those. There was Snapchat had their own glasses, I think, at some point. And I mean, this is like some weird viral marketing almost at this point. Like, who cares?
Well, the other thing is, Facebook, everybody is concerned about privacy in Facebook. This feels like a product Facebook does not want associated with them right
So
now.
anyone could be like just recording me with their glasses now.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I mean,
And
whatever.
probably uploading right to Facebook and stored on Facebook servers and analyzed by the AI.
Scanning your image, using it in AI, and
Definitely.
the only other comment I really had was the Zuck was really excited to be back in person. He's a people person, if you can't tell. And the crowd reaction, like, so mixed that, and I felt like he was pausing for reactions sometimes that were not happening, and might have been a mistake. You could go the Sony route, going back to that E3 a long time ago. Get some super fans, pump them up on drugs or something, so that when you announce Shenmue 3, people jump out of their seats and blow their fucking loads. Like, you gotta kind of curate this crowd in those scenarios, because you're not Apple. Okay, people are not necessarily like jacked to be there.
I mean, I was wondering what the audience is, because at times it felt like he was just kind of giving a company speech to like employees, you know what I mean? But I have to assume there's some press people there. I don't know if there's just, average Joe that loves VR somehow there. I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of useless stuff, but the Meta Quest 2 is a pretty good product. I actually think it made a lot of advancements for like just home personal VR use. So just having the Meta Quest 3 in general is a good thing. But I guess the question is, will you be buying one? Will you upgrade to a Meta Quest 3, Sean?
It's tempting. I have to admit, it's tempting. But
I could tell he's going to.
I mean, I just
Like, I
bought
can
a
give the other
PSVR
one to
2,
the
and
kids, and then we'll have two. We can
I mean, that
play a board
crossed
game
my mind,
across
but
from each other in the living room on the table with our headsets on.
I barely played the PSVR 2. I really can't justify it at this point. But hey, I mean, they've got a couple killer apps this fall. They've got Ghostbusters. They've got Asgard's Wrath 2. It's pretty huge.
Okay, I'm gonna note that. What if they have an open box deal on a Meta Quest 3 on Amazon?
Don't go there. I don't want to talk about it.
Know the answer to this question already. But I'm just holding off. Give me a new Valve Index, and I'll be all over it day one.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I wonder why we haven't heard anything about that this year.
Yeah, they're so like they're so weird with announcements and new ideas. They might not announce it for 10 years. I don't know. I have no idea what Valve's strategic planning is like. It's a mystery. And I'll be honest, I don't like it. Going back to Asgard's Wrath 2, Sean, the last time we saw Asgard's Wrath 2, they said it runs on the Meta Quest 2 as well.
Mm-hmm.
This time they were talking about the new chip that allows it to show the graphics for Asgard's Wrath 3. Sorry, Asgard's Wrath 2 on a Meta Quest 3. And like, I don't understand. So how bad is the Meta Quest 2 version of this game going to be? And have they officially said not happening? Because was there any fallout of this?
I mean, it's definitely going to be on the Quest 2. There's no question of that. But yeah, I really have no idea how bad it's going to look. And I mean, I haven't tried the first one yet. I do want to fire it up, but like the comparison between, running it on your PC because it's an Oculus Rift game, I believe. So you can't play it on the standalone Quest 2 headset. So the quality of number 1 versus what number 2 is probably going to look like on the Quest 2 is probably going to look worse than the new one.
Yeah. My guess would be the first game on PC will look substantially better than the sequel.
Yeah.
Not the best.
But, I mean, I'm curious just to at least try the first one and kind of see, because that is definitely one of the highest reviewed VR games out there. So, people have said a lot of good things about it. So I'm curious.
Yeah, I have downloaded it many times and never played it, and it's huge. and then I need space and I delete it, and then I'm like, oh, I should try that.
Yeah, me
And I
too.
never play it. Okay, that's all I have to say. I don't think we give letter grades to technology showcases. I'm not interested, unless you think we should.
Definitely not.
Gonna be pretty low either way.
And
but,
you didn't ask me if I was going to buy it. Jeez,
that's right.
how
Sorry,
rude.
I apologize. It was the backtracking. I had to get to that Asgard Wrath point. Huck, will you be buying it? I think you will.
Nope, definitely not.
Tax write-off.
Definitely not. I will not be buying it. I played
Your
the
Equilibrium
MetaQuest 2.
systems. You have to launch on all platforms. You need a MetaQuest 3 to test on.
No. I will not be launching VR. I don't
I
think.
fully
anytime
expect
soon.
you to do a whole episode wearing a MetaQuest 3 before Christmas.
Before Christmas. See, that was a special one-off thing. I could do another Quest 2 show in support
I'm
of
not interested.
Meta, but
we still have to record an episode in Horizon Worlds one of these days.
I'll think about it. But I'm intrigued. Okay, moving on to what we played. Shall we start with Cocoon? I would say the big release of this week.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so Cocoon is an indie game. I think it's indie technically, right?
Yeah, I think so.
I believe made by former developers who worked on Inside and Limbo. I'm not sure which, because what was the other games other former team members worked on that you played, Sean?
Yeah, Planet of Lana, I believe, is one.
Okay, yeah.
And then, oh crap, I'm blanking on the other. Somerville, I think that's the other one.
Like SOM, right? Or something?
Yeah. And then, was there another one?
I thought there was.
It's weird because, I'm thinking to myself, like, there's been so many games coming out that say they're from the creators of Limbo and Inside, but like, what's the next Playdead game? Like, that's the studio that made it. I feel like everybody left that studio, and like, I don't know who's left at Playdead.
They've gone from Playdead to dead. They're done.
Apparently.
But Cocoon, I haven't played those other games. Cocoon feels the most, just even from what I know about those other ones, like Inside and Limbo. Specific, like everything is just a button and contextual a button that is always switching. And I mean, the art style, the world, the vibe, one of the best I've played all year. There's so many cool art styles, but sometimes I get into a new indie game and it just doesn't feel cohesive. They lack polish, and it just doesn't feel like a real quote unquote fantasy world. And everything about this helps build the world that you're in. So I think I haven't played Planet of Lana. Sean, maybe you can speak to this, but how it incrementally teaches you the mechanics of the game, I think is perfect, which is what made Limbo and Inside so great. I have not consulted a guide yet. I've been close, but then eventually you have that eureka or aha moment, which is the most difficult thing to do, making puzzle games. So they've recreated that perfect formula and great stepwise incremental puzzle solving. And there's been some really creative, but not overwhelming puzzles. So there's also a mild recursive element in the game. And when I first saw that demoed, I was like, I don't know, this might be too much already. Like, if these recursive puzzles get too complicated, I could see myself checking out or getting lost. But they gate it really well. Sometimes they'll limit what you have access to. They do such a good job of limiting options in certain scenarios via gates and powers. And I so far, it's kind of perfect. I have not, and I'll say lastly, the introduction of bosses or a version of that, I think really help with pacing and even visual variety in the game. So definitely so far, I'm not done yet. I'm probably about 2/3 through. One of the best games I've played all year, and will be, if it sticks the landing, could possibly be my game of the year so far.
Yeah, I mean, those are thoughts I've been having as well as I'm playing it. I mean, it's just from a design standpoint, it's one of the strongest games this year for sure. And it is, like I like puzzle games. I feel like sometimes puzzle games are just another world. People are not interested in using their brains to a certain extent. Like it feels like work, and I get it. But this game does a really good job, like you said, of like you get kind of closed off in certain areas and you're kind of like, okay, I can't go here, I can't go here. So somewhere in here is where I need to solve it. And it really directs you.
Yeah.
But it doesn't like it's still up to you to figure it out. And when you do, you feel like, oh, I did that. It feels great. So
and it always stops you for the difficult puzzles from backtracking a ridiculous amount. It stops you from, maybe because you're like, oh, do I have to go all the way back here? And the game stops you from doing that, which I love. It's like, okay, focus on your like immediate surroundings. The solution is within your grasp, and it's just so empowering.
Yeah. And the idea of like I don't know, there was kind of a moment like early on where I was thinking of Scorn a bit. Do you remember that game?
Yes.
Where it's like, it is one of those games where it really doesn't tell you anything. It doesn't explain the world. You're like this weird insect thing. It's kind of futuristic, and you're carrying these orbs around and putting them in things and activating stuff. And like, there's no explanation. And Scorn was a little bit like that, but it was so frustrating because there's parts where you felt like there's something you need to interact with and you didn't even notice it or didn't even know you could interact with it.
Yeah. So the telegraphs in this game are so good. You know exactly what you can interact with and what you can't. Even finding the hidden ancestors, like, when you're close to one, it's satisfying to do it. And I think I'm so glad you mentioned Scorn, because Scorn had a similar premise, but I remember the first puzzle. The room is so big. There's so many potential solutions that it kind of reveals how bad or uninteresting the puzzles actually are. And I believe they did that just to make the game longer, because they didn't have enough good ideas to sustain or they wanted the game to be a certain length. They could have gated that stuff, but they wanted people to explore so they could say it's a 10-hour game or whatever. So I think they actually, shot themselves in the foot with those decisions, because Cocoon's, from what I've heard, 4 or 5 hours, and it's 4 or 5 hours of pure bliss. So just take note, developers. No one wants to play a game that's 10 hours for the sake of being 10 hours. You better have good stuff in there.
Yeah. And I mean, it's part of it too, is like Scorn was a 3D game, whereas this is kind of like isometric 2D, and it's, it just feels like more manageable. Like, you can only move around and press A basically. And, so I guess what I was trying to say is like the first half hour might be a bit dicey for some people, but if you kind of just power through that and you start to pick up on like the certain items and things you can interact with, and like the patterns that they're going to be repeating in the game, then you get into that flow, and it's like, it is really well paced. Like I didn't find that I was stuck for very long, like maybe 5-10 minutes, then something clicks, you're on to the next thing. And
it's got great design, like actual mechanics pacing when it comes to which orb you're using and when. It's always switching. They add elements to each orb here and there. It has like a game loop with that. The bosses, like I mentioned, are always interesting and break up the gameplay a bit. And then just by the nature of switching the orbs, the visual pacing is amazing. You're never in the same area for too long. You're constantly switching between areas. So this is a testament to game design, and it's a really good game.
Yeah, and it's definitely, out of those games I mentioned, the best one so far. I mean, I did really like Planet of Lana. Somerville, I think, again, it was a 3D game and it got real frustrating. So there's something about 2D and kind of limiting it. Like if you're not going to explain anything, at least make the range of, options and movement a little bit more manageable, I guess.
I have not even thought about once that nothing is being explained, because the visuals are so original and intriguing, and there's so much polish. Like the leaves on one of the plants, like have this, as it approaches the tip of the leaves, it like becomes more transparent, like just small little ideas visually sprinkled everywhere. The effects when certain things manifest or dissipate are always like top level visual effects. So I've been nothing but impressed by this game.
Very interesting. This game was not on my radar at all. I know you guys were impressed with the art style, but I had not been originally. And obviously you guys giving it such high praise, I'm gonna have to check it out now.
It is on Game Pass, right, Sean?
Correct. And I was going to say the trailers, I mean, I wasn't 100% sold on. I was more just trusting in, the people working on it, and that it seemed like it had potential. But yeah, I think it definitely delivered on the promise there.
I'm just trying to see. Is it on everything? Is it also on Switch and PlayStation? I know it's on Steam.
I believe it is. I believe it's on the Switch.
It says it is on Wikipedia, but I don't know if it's actually launched on those yet.
Yeah, it looks like it is.
Yeah, PS4, PS5, and Switch. So no excuses to not try this amazing game.
Yeah.
All right. Huck, how about you? What are you playing?
I've mostly been still going on Sea of Stars, though I think I'm still not very far. I feel like I've only gotten a few hours here and there to play. I'm maybe 25% in. I'm like probably 6 or 7 hours into the game or something like that, and still enjoying it. But I do wish that there was more like environmental puzzles around for you to explore. There are some here and there, but mostly it's just kind of like linear paths. And unlike Crosscode, where there's a lot of sort of like hidden paths to jump around and to explore and find treasures, there's some of that in the first big town I found, which was really refreshing and enjoyable. But in the main dungeons, there's not really any of that. There's maybe one hidden, secret like treasure chest, like with a big item in it per dungeon, and that's really it. So although that can be rewarding to find that, I kind of wish there was some more to find. Or maybe I'm just missing them.
I like the idea of there always being one thing, and I don't have to question how many things I'm searching for. And it's like, I really like when it's, a game where every world has 5 hidden objects, and it kind of repeats that cycle, and you kind of know what you're looking for rather than guessing. So
I guess I don't know that for sure.
That's true.
It's possible I'm missing something. It seems like that so far. That seems to be the trend. But some of them are pretty neat. And there's this one thing I'm interested in, is because there's a puzzle where you need to place crystals, like a pretty typical, like place the crystals on the light and it changes the light color. And then you get 3 crystals and it kind of opens up a third door kind of thing. And I was playing with my son and he's like, oh, make sure you pick up those crystals before you leave. And it never even like crossed my mind to do that. So I grabbed all the crystals before I left this puzzle area. And I'm wondering if down the road that'll actually pay off in some way, because it's such a subtle thing. And these guys can be known for like little subtle things. So I'm interested if that will pay off in the end, or just be shit I carry around forever. I'm not sure.
Can't leave anything behind. Gotta pick it all up.
That's right. There's no encumbrance here, so we're good.
Nice. I gotta get to Sea of Stars. It's embarrassing that I haven't played it yet. Anything else for either of you guys? Nothing else for me.
Just one quick thing. So do you guys remember that game Storyteller?
Yes.
I would think we discussed it at some point. I actually tried the demo maybe last year, but it's out now on Netflix for mobile. which is actually a great way to play it because it's just
on the shitter.
You're just sliding things around, and it's a puzzle game. The idea is you're basically presented with, 4 to 6 frames of images that you can build, and you're given like a caption, like I don't know, what's an example, like jealousy leads to murder or something like that. And so then you have like a couple characters, a couple like background scenes, and maybe some other contextual things that you can drop into these frames, and you got to try to tell the story that they want you to tell. And at first it seems really simple, and then it quickly gets really difficult. And when I tried the demo, I remember kind of feeling like it was not totally fair in some ways. Like there was just things that, like when you drop into the frame, they react differently, and hard to explain exactly what I mean, but like it just didn't feel like it was just like at some point trial and error. But I feel like they've refined it a bit, and it actually now I feel like I'm actually trying to solve the puzzle instead of just guessing. So it's, I don't know, it's a pretty cool little idea. And like I said, if you have Netflix, free to try it and play it on your phone or something. And I'm enjoying it.
How have we not gotten the Netflix payola? No one plays Netflix games except for Dwa Guy.
This is the only Apple Arcade as far as I'm concerned.
That's right. Yeah.
But, I got to say it again. They have some good stuff on there. They've got, Spiritfarer. They've got Shredder's Revenge. They've got Immortality. I can't remember, but there's like a bunch of indie games from the past couple years that they got ported to iOS, and Netflix kind of picked up the rights to them. So it's kind of cool.
Those are good games.
Yeah, they are. I've been playing. I just started dabbling back. I really don't know why, but into Inscryption.
I have to get back to this game.
And I just so I really struggled. I couldn't beat the fisherman, which is the second boss.
That's where I got stuck too.
And then I thought I started cheating, but I found basically like a combo of your idol or whatever it is thing that basically makes you very powerful. And then I basically walked through the game once I had that thing on. I shouldn't say I walked through the game. I walked through the first 4 bosses, I think, very easily. And then the game completely shifts for a bit. I don't know if you have got to this shift part.
No, that's what I kind of saw. And this game, like, it's a meta game, which is not surprising from the developer. And I've got to see this thing through to the end.
Yeah. So the game shifts in a very, actually reminded me a bit of like Sam Barlow games, like Immortality or Her Story kind of thing. Like it almost shifts in that kind of weird direction. And then it throws you back in the game. And I'm a little like, kind of like, oh, what do I do now? And I lost all my stuff. You almost like restart. Like, am I even playing this game right anymore? Like the game is in my head. I don't know if I should keep playing or if I don't know what I have to do in this game now to actually beat it. And I'm
curious
cool.
If you got to the thing that I saw, which blew my mind. I don't
probably not.
Like probably in a fraud fractions way.
Probably not yet then.
Okay.
So, yeah, we could talk about it after so we avoid spoilers, but I definitely am now more intrigued to keep playing this game. I thought it was very polished before and had like a great it's basically just a board game, like a card game, but it has this whole other environment you participate in outside of it, which is just so cool. And I'm just so impressed with this game in general. The art style and even like the humor, like that the cards provide and stuff like that is really neat. And there's a lot of hidden stuff. I was looking at the trophy list and it's like weird stuff you would never like think of doing. So it's kind of cool. I'm really enjoying it, but I really just don't know what to expect next now. I'm kind of blown away.
Cool. I got to
Yeah.
get back to this game.
Yeah, I want to play it too. I'm not as into the deck building type stuff, but the meta thing, I'm so intrigued. I got to check it out.
The deck building is not that complicated, really. After you play maybe 3 or 4 rounds, it's not really that tricky. There's really only I would say like 2 main mechanics and 2 main resources. I guess 2 main resources is there's like blood and then there's bones, and you use those to play different cards. It's almost like the cost of playing a card. So you just have to manage those resources in order to be able to play the cards you want. And and you have to draw 1 per round. Or one time I actually got a special ability that let me draw 2 per card or 2 per round. And then it was over. Like then I could just wipe the floor with this guy. So really fun game. And really, it has these, the one thing I got to recently that I hadn't seen before is they have these things called trials where you basically pull something. It'll say like 4 water cards or something like that, 5 attack points and 20 health or something like that. And then it draws 3 random cards. You have to pick one of those original 3 to be as your like trial. And if the cards you draw don't meet that trial, I don't think anything happens. But if you do actually pass this trial, you get like a really awesome reward that really helps you proceed in the game easier. And it's kind of a neat mechanic because it doesn't really punish you. It just, enhances your gameplay by having the right cards and choosing the right trial and getting a little lucky, I guess. But overall, like really just the design is really, really great in this game. Really cool.
Yeah. Definitely was on a lot of best of the year lists last year, I think, right? So
yeah, it's embarrassing that we didn't play this.
A lot of games out there.
Yeah.
There are a lot of games out there.
Well, I think that's it for today's show. So check us out on youtube.com/Game Junk. Huck, you want to show your new pal there?
No, he's having a snooze now.
Oh, fuck.
We got a new pup.
Wake that fucking dog up. No, I'm just kidding. Don't wake the dog.
No, I don't want to wake him up.
Okay. Huck got a new dog, so Leo was making an appearance before we started. But youtube.com/Game Junk to watch the show. Discord links are there as well if you want to join the Discord. Sean is Film Junk on Twitter. Huck is Mind Greek Commute and Equilibrium Sis. And thank you for listening or watching. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.